Guys, the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, just did a 150-hour three-part series on TB Joshua. Now, this expose has really brought out a lot of things to the limelight. Now, TB Joshua, before his death, 2021, was seen as more like a man of God. Now, most of us actually saw this man as a prophet. We looked up to him. He was the head pastor of one of the largest churches in Nigeria. Now, a lot of miracles happened in this church. People, the sick who went there were healed. The lame walked. This man was a philanthropist. He gave en masse to people. For us to now see the real face of this man, is quite shocking, quite heartbreaking to a lot of people. Now, a few of us actually suspected that not everything we saw was the real thing, but we couldn't be certain. Now, BBC has brought everything to limelight, okay? Now, we've seen people who were close to the prophet for over 20 years actually come out to testify against him. We've seen his cameraman speak, we've watched even his daughter speak, we've seen his right-hand man speak, and they had nothing good to say about this man. Now, guys, if you've watched the video, you will be heartbroken. Now, here are 5 lessons we should all learn from this TB Joshua's case. Now, the very first is the fact that not all that glitters is gold. So this church was more like the mecca of miracles. If you needed a miracle, that was the place to be. We heard of people with HIV being healed. We heard of cancer being healed. A lot of Nollywood celebrities went there. Okay, they received spiritual help. They received financial help. Now, to now hear that this man wasn't using genuine power is quite saddening. So this just goes to show that not all that glitters is gold, and we really should screen things before we accept them. Now, this guy might have been seen to have perpetrated miracles, but as we know, most fake men of God, what they do is that when they take one thing from you out of your life, they put back another just so that you can keep returning. So they might have taken a sickness, but then they put another that could surface a few years later, just so you will remember them and go back. Now, another lesson we need to learn from this case is that you don't even need a degree to be a manipulator. Now, TB Joshua was a master psychological manipulator. Now, these women who gave their testimonies, guys, if you watch them, a lot of them were heartbroken. They were broken, okay? The years had not even healed them, had not done anything to them. Most of them revealed they wanted to leave when their eyes got opened and they got to see that this man wasn't who he was painting himself to be. But for some reason they were powerless to actually move. Now, TB Joshua created a system that was ruled by fear, in a system where you had no friend, where they felt like they had no safety, and he was the only God that could actually rescue them. Now, the most heartbreaking of all is that his biological daughter, Ajoke, was not spared. Now, this girl suffered decades of emotional abuse. Now, at some point, some of the disciples actually revealed that TB Joshua told the disciples that they could beat her whenever they wanted because she was possessed. So they beat her at will. They could be entering a room and then they would give her a slap, they would kick her. Imagine years of such psychological abuse. But these people, these disciples, so to speak, were powerless to even save themselves. And the third lesson to learn is that fear can be a very strong weapon. Now, like I already said, fear was one of the major weapons Temitope used in actually keeping these disciples in check. Now, they were so fearful of him, of the repercussion of what would happen if they left or exposed him, that they all kept quiet. Now, a few of them actually wanted to confide in each other, but you can imagine a situation where disciple A confides in B, and then B runs off to Temitope to reveal everything that A says. So there was no trust, there was that fear, there was just that fear. Let me repeat that word, that ruled the disciples and kept them in check. Now, the fourth lesson to learn is that sometimes the wicked go unpunished. Now, imagine such atrocities going on for over 20 years. Now, Temitope ruled for over 20 years, okay? Now, there are accusations of rape, accusations of abuse, child abuse, accusations of rituals that went on unchecked. Now, this man had the free will to do all this, and he was not indicted up until his death. So this just goes to show that not every wicked person will meet their Waterloo. Now, the fifth and the final lesson to take from this is that God doesn't exist everywhere. Now, guys, don't get me wrong. God might be omnipresent, okay, but then He also abhors sin. Abhors sin. Now, TB Joshua was a man that exemplified sin. He was sin himself, and even though the synagogue looks like a place where God resided, the miracles guys were. The miracles will leave you speechless, but the recent expose has just shown that God definitely wasn't in that building. He wasn't in that ministry. So this again just makes us know that we should test every spirit before we actually accept them. So this issue of actually going after miracles could actually land us in trouble. Before you go to a church, you should test the spirit to be sure that God actually resides in that place before you actually commit yourself to it. So guys, these are the 5 lessons to learn from TB Joshua case. Please stay tuned for more information about TB Joshua. If you're here to subscribe, guys, please do so by clicking that subscribe button, okay, so you keep abreast of this ongoing case as well as other issues in the country. Guys, subscribe to this channel, turn on your notification icon, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.